Home is where connections are made, memories are formed, and ideas are born. And no one knows home better than NFM. Thanks for tuning in to I Am Home, the podcast that goes deeper than trends and dives into what it means to make your house a home.
Welcome back to another episode of I Am Home, the podcast that's all about making your home life your best life. We're taking another lap around the sun. It's the new year. I'm Tyler Weiskup, recording from NFM headquarters with our esteemed word weaver, Becca Sudbeck.
Hi, Tyler.
Hi, Becca. And Hilary Waltemath, Visual Display General Manager.
Hey.
Hey, Hilary. And today we are welcoming back two of our NFM experts, Russell Weaver and Vicki Pospisal. Welcome back to you both. And again, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Yes. As a reminder, our NFM experts are folks with home life passions that we bring on to answer your burning questions. All this month, we're talking resolutions, and both Russell and Vicki are here to talk about something that might help you better achieve them, saving time. But before we get to that, let me tell you why we're even doing this podcast. And that's because NFM is more than just your everything home store. We're in the business of improving lifestyles because your home life should be your best life. Learn more at nfm.com. So Russell and Vicki, I really love this idea of time-saving tactics as we get into the new year. I feel like we all would enjoy a manual for how to best run through a day, but that thing probably doesn't exist, and we're all different. That makes it hard, but I'd love to know, how do you two each interpret this idea of time-saving tactics, taking control of your day, especially as a New Year's resolution?
The way I look at, we were talking earlier about this, is the idea for time saving. Do I make my day more efficient so I can do more tasks? Or what I like to look at it is, do I make my day more efficient so I have more time to do the things that I want to do, to relax and do whatnot. So the efficiency at work to do those tasks versus what we were talking about, your efficiency at home. How do you make that efficient so that stress is less and less and less? Mine is completely lazy. I want to be able to sit and do nothing. So I got to get my stuff done early, as compared to, I like having a nice house and I want to have stuff put together and relieve the stress of the family, everything else. I think it's two different ways of looking at it.
Or you're indicating, Vicki, as if those are the things that are important to you, Vicki?
So the way I interpreted the question was more, how do I manage our schedule to make sure people in our house feel less chaotic and less stressed? So I do that by keeping our schedule just right by our front door and by the week. So that way, when the kids are getting ready to leave the house, they know what's coming up for the day and there's no surprises for the week. And that manages the stress in our house, which keeps the chaos lower.
Yeah, 100%. You both have families, like busy families.
I'm an empty nester. Love it.
Oh my gosh.
I love my children, but I love being an empty nester.
Wow. Well, goodness gracious. This is a whole perspectives on both sides. Yes, it's great. So the idea of you getting things done means like you absolutely have all of the nothing time to do the nothing.
Wonderful.
Which is great. And the organization of your family and making sure that the chaos is managed, super, super important. So I'm going to jump right into question number 2 here. How do you prioritize your tasks and ensure you focus on the most important ones first?
Lists.
Okay.
We were talking about this on how the idea of a list is so simple. Of, it pets my brain the right way when I can go and it's gone. It's so nice. It's a great way to prioritize what you need through the day. I know I was seeing that you have calendars and you have things that you put down, grocery lists or a task list or whatever that would be, to be able to get that done and organize it. And you have a physical thing to do to be able to say, I have finished that. I can move on to my next task, or show things that are not done. That's for me. That's where it's at. Whether you do it on a pad of paper, you do it on a whiteboard, you do it on, electronically on your phone, you set timers, however that is. For me, it's all about making those lists.
Yeah. Hilary, you're a notes app person.
Yes. And like the shared notes app, like where people can collaborate, like we have a shared grocery list. So as we like run out of things, we like write it on the list and we can both shop from this
Oh,
list. And like, I'm a big proponent too, like, I'm inclined to like take on all the responsibility and like take control of those situations. And so like making it a mutually like shared responsibility versus one person being responsible
If I can
for
blame
all that.
somebody else, I'm all for it.
Becca, do you are you a list person as well? Are you? Yeah.
I love lists.
Do you have a manual approach, or are you taking a digital approach?
I like manual, but like if I'm like not next to my physical list, then I send myself a text.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when I get home, I write it on my list.
Yeah.
So the text messages to myself are quite lengthy.
Yeah. It goes into its like holding spot until.
Yeah. So like I make sure it's like unread.
Keep it on unread.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unread, an unread text to myself, and then when I get home, I write
Okay.
it down. Mainly because I like kind of like Hillary, like we have shared responsibilities and shared things, and there's a whole bunch of people that help raise my little village of people, and so I feel like then that way everybody sort of knows what's going on and what we need and whatever. So
It's your hub of information.
Yeah.
Smart. And speaking of hubs, Vicki, I know that you've got kind of a good system going at your place.
Yes.
Would you classify this as your list making ability, or how you prioritize making sure everyone's getting the things done that they need to?
Yes. So I have lists on lists, I guess. So I have lists for the things we have to do every week, but then I also have lists on different tasks. Like, so if I need the kids' help with something, I have the different tasks for those, and then the separate things that complete the task. So like if the kids have chores each week, I have what it means to actually clean up the living room, like the individual
Break it down.
tasks.
Yes.
That include cleaning up the living room. And I have those written on a little note card and then laminated with tape so they can take that with them and then
Lamination.
actually cross off on the list, because all of us have such scattered brains. If I say go clean up the living room, that task is too overwhelming for them. So to just break it down into individual little tasks. So that's what it's like in our house. Just everything is broken down into individual little tasks.
How long did it take you to set that up?
Not that long.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought about it as I was like, okay, I know every time I ask them to go clean the room
the rooms.
anything.
That never happens.
I
unless
know.
You're really specific.
Yes. Unless you're very specific. Like I need you to go pick up the Legos. Go find every Lego, pick them up. I was over saying that every single time. So I was like, well, how can I just make this easier? So I made it a list. And then I was like, okay, well, I can do this with everything. Cleaning the bathroom, tidying up the kitchen, whatever it is. So I just made a list for each task I typically ask them to do. So
I imagine that would like help. I'm thinking about how that would help me, but like my interpretation of tidying up an area versus
someone else's or a child.
Yes. It's going to probably be very different. And so you're like leaving no question, like of what needs to be done. So
So, I mean, beyond that, I do have the list by the door that also has, like, if we need to pick up a couple of extra groceries or something like that, if you're out, then grab some milk, just the emergency things. But, outside of that, just if anybody's going to the store, we typically just text each other, because the shared lists, we've tried that. We've tried the technology things, but we just always end up going back to the old fashioned written down because it feels so good to just write it down.
Yeah. Like, can you do Russell the sound effect again when you're
When
crossing?
when I pet my brain.
Yeah. That is nice. That's nice.
That's nice.
Yeah. How do you approach, so we talked a little bit about this, Hilary, delegation, because we've got multiple people in the household, a lot of us. And some of us sometimes take on more than others. And so trying to figure out how to delegate is super important to keeping our sanity and making sure that everyone is saving as much time as possible so they can get back to the things that they want to do. So talk to me about delegation.
So I took it way too far as a professional delegation, but in a household, this is going to fall into a very typical known roles, like my job is in the kitchen. I know that. And that's what we have, our known roles of, this is what it is. Anything that falls out of that, then we have that discussion of delegation of, hey, I need this from you. That communication is important to find out what that is.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, what that level of, if I were to make a professional analogy to that, or a professional analog to it, is I need to be clear with my expectations. Yep. This is what our end goal. If we all agree on what that end goal is, or what the finish line is, then we can get there and we can do what it needs to. But I know when my kids were younger, it's a lot harder to say, hey, this is what I need from you. I don't need the dishes in your sock drawer. That's not where they go.
Right.
Because there. But having that shared goal, or that shared understanding of what that finish line is, I think is the first thing to delegation is, you give them the autonomy to do what needs to be done, but then understanding what that is. And sometimes, I know when my kids were younger, it was sometimes I have to show you what that is when it's done. This is what it looks like, and this is what I need done. My children's mother had a point where she was taking pictures. This is what it needs to look like. Puts it on there. This is what it needs to be. And then when it looks, your job is done. And then they got to a point where, like, if I hide it behind there.
It's easier to try and figure out a way to go around it than just do it.
If you put that same effort into actually doing
right.
it,
Yeah. Done.
Yeah.
It's not as fun.
Yeah, this may be I'm gonna adapt this as a Tyler top tip, like actually having a completed, like, here's exactly what it looks like. When I used to work at Fazoli's back in the day, they had a picture of, like, this is what the sandwich should look like when it's finished. And I almost always made the sandwich that way. So,
almost always.
It's like having a tool organization. It's a big thing for tool organization.
Yeah.
The, like, shadow
Just
papers.
like preschools, and like plastic saw goes here.
Yeah.
It's the same idea of having that picture to be done with it. It's an easy way to tell this is when you're done.
Yeah. Vicki, what about you? Delegation.
So we were talking about this out there, like blunt communication.
Yes.
So one of the things my husband and I talked about through couples therapy a while ago, when we were trying to just improve our communication, was we had always fought about the dishes, because it's that ambiguous job that just sits there because it's not assigned to anybody. So we assigned the dishes. My husband puts them in the dishwasher, and then the kids take them out. So, like, whichever kid takes them out, they put a tally next to their name, and then they get paid for the dishes. And then I do laundry. So we talked about those ambiguous jobs that just kind of sit and nobody really had it assigned to them. So yeah, we talked about all of those and assigned them. And then the calendar by the door, that also helps us figure out who is busy and where people need to be. So that way, if the kids have anything going on, or if I'm teaching a yoga class or something like that, we can see who's busy, who's available, and when we need help. So that helps us reprioritize and ask for help when we need it.
Yeah, smart. Scott, did we have an image of the calendar that Vicki uses? I wonder if we can walk people through it pretty quick.
Yeah, so this is the picture that we're looking at is right by my front door. So it's a cork board, and it just has Monday through Friday, pretty big, and then Saturday, Sunday, a little bit smaller. But on Monday through Friday, if you go to the next picture, it has the activities that the kids have, and then anything that we have going on too. And then like simple things too. So my daughter has PE that she has to dress out for, and then on the opposite day she has to take her flute to school. So it has whether she has to take her flute or if she has PE. So she knows on her way out the door, do I need to grab my PE shirt or do I have to grab my flute? So just little things. Yeah. And with my son, it has his PE days on there too. So he knows if he has to grab sneakers or if he can wear his Crocs or whatever. And then anything else for the week that we need. So his paperwork, or like my husband's traveling this week. So it says that he's in Ohio and through Sunday. So the kids don't have to ask every day, when's dad coming home? He's coming home on Sunday at noon. So just a reference for everybody.
Yeah. And obviously this combines the list that you're talking about, a little bit of like the elements under the list, the subcategories that you've got going on, as well as any of the delegation type stuff that we've been talking about just recently. I think it's brilliant.
And you've done a good job of making like cute and functional too. Like it fits in your home. I think of like, you don't think of those things being like the most sightly thing in your home, but you've done a really good job of like, it's like big enough that everybody can see it and read it, and it like fits in your space too. So
thank you. That little thing that it's sitting on, it's also where the kids' backpacks hang. So, and it's, like I said, right by our front door. So it's the last thing, and it's that little dish is where our keys sit. So it's the last thing before we exit.
Yeah.
So smart.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
that.
this is a perfect segue into resources that we can use to save time. I think obviously having calendars, having lists are some of those things, but I'd love to kind of expand that a little bit and talk about, whether it's some of the technology pieces that we've been discussing, or are there like products that you can purchase to help you save time around the house? Anything come to mind when I talk about resources for saving time?
Well, the idea, the shared notes, there's an app called Out of Milk. And I know that you weren't a big fan of it, but what's great about it for a smaller household with no kids running around, since I'm the one doing the cooking 99% of the time, not that she can't, she's just likes my food better, great. But it's literally an app that we open up, has a whole list if she wants to add something, or if she goes and buys, or if I go and buy, it's all on that list. You check it off, it's done. And it's just a continuing rolling list on stuff we need. So this morning, I knew I had a frozen fruit for my morning smoothie, put it on the list. I don't know if she's going to make it to Costco before I do. If she does, fantastic. If not, that type of stuff, that communication, open communication across boards is an easy way to do it. But the whiteboards and the things stack up. What I found is, for the person that uses it, it's great. For the person that doesn't, it's just clutter. So finding out what works best in your household that isn't cluttering, that now leads to a list of cleanup clutter. Yeah, it's got to figure it out yourself, unfortunately.
Yeah, this goes back to that point of like it being personal. If we all followed the same manual, we'd be robots, and it'd be a different world.
Right.
So you've got your own way of doing it, and what's working for you is not working for Vicki potentially, and other people as well. And we have to kind of experiment a little bit to find out what's working for our home life.
So is anybody else in this room use Outlook besides just for work? Is Outlook just your everything? Blocking time?
Everything.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Just work.
Just work.
So we were talking about this out there. I use technology at work. It's everything at work, right? Like I have an Excel file that I open up every day that has my checklist of things I need to do weekly, monthly, and then I click it as done. Like it's everything at work. But then when I go home, literally the technology I use is my Kindle. And then I'm just done. Like I'm done with technology. I want to just unplug. Yeah. So that's why we moved to the whiteboard, because before we were using Cozy, which is a great app for people that need shared calendars to share with their relatives or even with their spouse. So that way they can keep track of calendars and lists and things like that. But we just like, I want to go home and like toss my phone somewhere and just forget about it.
Literally unplug.
Yes.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
What more could we expect from our mindfulness expert?
Right.
So on brand.
I love it.
And jealous.
Hilary, I feel like you have some good suggestions typically when it comes to like time saving hacks and things that you like, especially around cleaning. I know that you've got like a lot of like, here's the best thing that you can use to clean your house. Anything that comes to mind when it comes to like products and things that you use around the house to get things done faster?
My probably most used like tool is just my like timer or an alarm. Like, cause I can get to this feeling like overwhelmed of all the things that need to get done. And then I'm just like paralysis sets in, and then my wheels are just spinning and I don't get anything done. And so I'll just like, whatever, 20 minutes, do as much as I can in 20 minutes. I was proving a point to Dan about like something takes so long. And I was like, I'm going to set a timer. We'll see how long it takes. And like, you're like, 4 minutes, like not bad at all. It's just like that time piece is is like helped so much. Like when I want to do everything and like the perfectionism sets in and want to do everything the right way. But you don't always have time for that. And so the thing I use the most, I think, is just like the timer or alarm app on my phone, and batch things out. Or if you have multiple things, like dedicate this much time to this much time to this, and then that's all you've got. That's all you can do. So.
Yeah. And that way you can kind of save the time that you're wanting to spend on the things that actually bring you joy. We all know we got to do things around to maintain our house, but at some point, like, you know, at that time I've done as much as I can, and the rest of it, I can live with it. You know, I did my check. I'll check the box for myself for the day. I like that.
Yeah.
Beck, anything come to mind for you?
I mean, I think the iRobot vacuum, I think, is great. So we vacuum our floors like 24/7 basically, but it's like something I don't have to physically do, but they're always clean. So I like that. I'd say that's my biggest like time saving hack.
Yeah. I feel like I'm never not like with foster dogs, never not vacuuming up dog hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've
been eyeing one.
Being able to have somebody do it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've even
Save a ton of time.
started talking about like, could we have somebody come in once or twice a month and clean? And
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Is anyone like experimental? I know there's a lot of people that I know that I'm like, oh, you have somebody come over to your house and do that. And they're like, yeah, it just makes it so much easier.
It is. That makes such a huge difference when somebody comes over and does all the top end cleaning, just the basic stuff. And then when it comes down to, you know, they're not going to go through my drawers and take out all the old stuff, reorganize. But you know, all the cleaning and vacuuming stuff is a time saver. But if I can make one suggestion to everybody, get rid of your kids. It works fantastic. Have your kids grow up and move out of the house.
Yeah.
That's a better way to put it.
Raise them really well so they go be really independent.
It's such a time saver.
Well, a couple other things that I thought about too is like, you know, if your dishwasher isn't like always getting the dishes clean, I mean, not like how much time do you waste like rewashing the dishes? That's a thing to think about as well. We were just doing another podcast where we're talking about what's not working in your home. I think that's an easy one to kind of pick out. You know, small appliances. Russell, if you cook a lot, having ones that are like specialized, an individual job versus like how much time you spend chopping and
and I cannot stand single use devices. If it only has one use, I'm a very Alton Brown situation. That should be your fire extinguisher. That should be the only thing that's a single use. Space efficiency. I should be able to do multiple things with that item to make sure I can use it, save that space. But to your point also, the idea of maintenance saves you time. Doing the things to cleaning out the trap in your dishwasher, making sure your drains are clean, pouring hot water every once in a while down your drains just to do a flush out. That maintenance, that time spent is going to save you that time down the road.
Right.
Makes a huge difference.
All your time into it.
Yeah, especially in a kitchen.
Well, I think this is a pretty good list of things for people to take. So I'm going to go ahead and like end it here. Thank you again for your time, Becca, Hilary, Vicki, Russell, and of course our producers, Scott and Renee. Thanks to everyone who's listening. Remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the I'm Home podcast wherever you listen. And then head over to nfm.com to learn more about how you can make your home life your best life. Till then, remember, home is what you make it.
Thanks for joining us today for I Am Home with Tyler Weisskopf, Hilary Woltemath, and Becca Sudbeck. No one knows home quite like NFM. So if you'd like more information on home design at NFM, please check out nfm.com and leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice.